Honorable House Chairperson, Honorable Deputy Minister Medical Magadzi, Honorable Members of Parliament, fellow South Africans. I start by sending special condolences to the National Taxi Association for the passing on of Mr. Dumisani Mpanza, who happened to be the treasurer of National Taxi Association. We send our deepest condolences to his family and the entire taxi industry. He will be laid to rest this coming weekend, and yesterday we had his memorial service. May his soul rest in peace. We also pass our condolences to those who perished and died as we fight the pandemic, COVID-19. We also send our deepest condolences to the families who are burying every day their loved ones as a result of COVID-19. As we grapple and continue with the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic on the economy and its disruptive effect on life as we know it, we are determined to accelerate economic recovery interventions. The transport sector has not escaped the devastation of the pandemic, and many of our people have been left unemployed or struggling to make ends meet in its wake. Despite the odds, our people have remained resilient and hopeful that our collective efforts will sufficiently reignite the economy in order for them to put bread on the table to feed their families. Sustainable economic reconstruction and recovery interventions that support sustainable livelihoods and create new opportunities is a singular commitment that gives impetus to our interventions. Our collective obligation to each other, that means that we have a role to play in uplifting each other. Our efforts to arrest the carnage on the roads can only succeed if road users change their behavior and appreciate that others have as much right to use the infrastructure freely without a threat to their lives and livelihoods. It also means that those who receive benefits from the pass have a duty to make a positive contribution to lives of others. We are therefore committed that the economic recovery and expansion potential of investing in the transport sector has to be harnessed in a targeted and highly catalytic ways. In order to truly live up to its designation as a network industry, transport must activate multiple overlapping networks of economic activity. In this regard, transport in South Africa is central to trade, economic social stability, and unwinding apartheid spatial planning. In our 2021-22 budget, expenditure is expected to increase at an average annual rate of 8.1% from 57.3 billion in 2021 to 72.5 billion in 2023 and 2024. Although the substantial share of the department's expenditure is directed towards rail infrastructure, maintenance, operations, and inventories, the balance of the budget is reserved for the South African National Roads Agency, SANRA, for the upgrading and maintenance of the national road network, as well as provinces and municipalities for the construction, operations, and maintenance of transport infrastructure and services. To remain within government ceiling for compensation of employees, spending on this item decreases at an average annual rate of 0.3% from 536.8 million in 2020-21 to 531.5 million in 2023-2021. Spending on goods and services is expected to increase at an average annual rate of 2.3% from 849 million in 2021 to 909.7 million in 2023-2024. The allocations to civil aviation program is expected to decrease at an average annual rate of 50.8% from 2.7 billion in 2021 to 319.2 million in 2023-2024 due to the capitalization of airports company AXA, which needed support due to travel restrictions as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic in 2020-2021 financial year. We continue to make strides in giving effect to our industrial policy by positioning South Africa as a continental manufacturing hub for rolling stock. The Gibela factory in Ekurhuleni continues to ramp up its production capacity as new trains roll off the assembly line every month. Despite the COVID-19 disruption, as at March 2021, 25 new trains had been provisionally accepted for delivery. This brings the total number of new trains delivered to date to 61. As at end of February 2021, a total of 878 jobs were created in the rolling stock fleet renewal program. Chairperson, as we committed to returning to service our rail operations, which were largely interrupted by the total shutdown, we have identified the following corridors as priority corridors for service recovery this financial year. We have heard the cries of our people about the lack of service, and we concur. Indeed, it affects the pockets of the working class and the poorest of the poor. In Gauteng, we have prioritized 7, which is Mabopane, Leralla, Naledi, Pienaarsport, Salisbury, Pretoria, and Davidton to Johannesburg. In the Western Cape, we have prioritized Cape Town to Cape Flats, Cape Town to Simonstown, Cape Town to Khayelitsha, and Captain's Clip. In KwaZulu-Natal, we have prioritized Crossmore Line, Kelso Line, KwaMashu, and Umlaas. In the Eastern Cape, East London to Berlin. For the mainline passenger services, we have prioritized Johannesburg to Cape Town, Johannesburg to Gqeberha, Johannesburg to East London, Johannesburg to Komatipoort, Johannesburg to Musina, Cape Town to East London, and 7, Johannesburg to Durban. The impact of COVID-19 restriction exposed the vulnerability of our network to criminality and vandalism. Vandalism was taking place but grew exponentially and into higher proportions as a result of the total shutdown and the network being exposed to this sort of criminality, resulting in occupation of the rail reserve by people who built illegal settlement, particularly in Cape Town. This was further exacerbated by the wanton destruction, theft and vandalism of our infrastructure. All hands are now on deck working tirelessly to return to service passenger rail operations. Our security interventions, which are a product of collaboration with our law enforcement and intelligence authorities, are bearing fruit. On the Central Line in Cape Town, work is underway to upgrade infrastructure to enable the deployment of the new trains. Earlier this year, we resumed a limited service but remain hamstrung by the settlements on the rail line and the reserve. We have been working tirelessly with the Ministers of Human Settlement as well as Public Works and Infrastructure, the Western Cape Provincial Government, and the City of Cape Town to resettle the people on the reserve. We are confident that we will achieve the resettlement soon in order to complete the infrastructure upgrades and restore the rail service. Notwithstanding the challenges in this corridor, we are working around the clock to ensure that all infrastructure projects are completed on time for the full resumption of service with deployment of new trains at the end of January 2022. On the Mabopane Road corridor, infrastructure upgrades are also underway. The completion of phase 1 of the upgrades will enable the resumption of a limited service at the end of November 2021. The resumption of full service is planned for early December 2021. Transfers to Passenger Rail Agency of South Africa amount to 57 billion, accounting for an estimated 27.2% of the department's budget over the medium term. Delays in rolling stock fleet renewal program along with poor spending on rail infrastructure and the effect of the COVID-19 pandemic, specifically lockdown restrictions, necessitated the reprioritization of funds to support other transport sector entities. As such, PRASA received no transfers from the department in 2020-2021 for the signaling and rolling stock renewal program. The reprioritization included a 2.3 billion capitalization of AXA and the 1.1 billion once-off gratuity to the taxi industry 2021. Over the medium term, capital transfers to PRASA are expected to increase at an average annual rate 164.3% from 700 million in 2020-2021 to 12.9 billion in 2023-2024. To offset revenue loss during the COVID-19 lockdown, operational transfers were temporarily increased in 2020-2021, accommodated by reductions to capital budgets. However, as they normalize over the medium term, operational transfers to PRASA are expected to decrease at an average annual rate of 5% from 8.8 billion in 2020-2021 to 7.5 billion in 2023-2024. Chairperson, in our performance agreement with the President, we committed to reducing the carnage on our roads by 25% by March 2024. We have been emphatic that we cannot continue to attempt to solve all problems by employing the same tactics that have not worked in the past. It is on that basis that we have sought innovative ways to tackle the intractable challenge of wayward conduct of motorists. We have previously reflected on our plans to change traffic policing from a regular job to one that is undertaken 24 hours a day and 7 days a week. We have made significant progress. Significant progress in this regard and have finalized all consultation with provinces, law enforcement authorities, as well as organized labor. The outstanding step is for each provincial executive council to improve this determination, which will pave the way for the Minister of Public Service and Administration to place the matter before the General Public Service Bargaining Council. We recently pronounced our intention to introduce body cameras as new standard to reinforce traffic policing. The use of this technology will go a long way in gathering evidence on the interactions between the officers and motorists. This will undoubtedly improve the conviction rate of motorists who break the law and deal a death knell to corruption. Our collective commitment to arrest the carnage on our roads and save life and limb must be supported by all of us. As part of strengthening the traffic management value chain guided by the Constitution, we have started the process of looking into possibility of streamlining and rationalizing our traffic entities. This includes reviewing founding laws of some of these entities to ascertain areas of duplication, drivers of inefficiency, and areas that require streamlining. To that effect, we are looking at the mandates of the Road Traffic Management, RTMC, the Road Traffic Infringement Agency, RTIA, and the driver's license card account trading entity. Closely aligned to this is the review of the service delivery model of driver and the vehicle licenses. We have been paying particular attention to the challenges confronting driving license testing centers across the country and the impact this has on the livelihoods of those who require these entities services to put bread on the table. We have taken heed of the plethora of complaints by members of the public, civil society, and political parties, and we are taking decisive action to address the issues raised. The end game of our intervention is improved service delivery and enhanced efficiency in the functioning of DLTCs free of corruption. We have engaged as the three spheres of government and have agreed on a range of measures that will address the most pressing challenges relating to driver and vehicle licensing. And the packages of this change will be unveiled in the next coming months as we implement brick by brick the improvement in terms of centers of driving license in the country. These include longer operating hours, use of technology to eliminate queues, and the introduction of an online interface for optometrists and medical practitioners to upload on the e-notice the eye test results. This is part of a process to allow motorists to employ the services of an optometrist of their own choice for eye test. We have previously made a commitment to the rollout of the Administrative Adjudication of Road Traffic Offences, ARTO Act of 1998, bolstered by the ARTO Amendment Act, which was signed into law by the President on 13th August 2019. Over the medium term, we have allocated to the Road Traffic Infringement Agency 545 million to fund the rollout. 215 million has been allocated for the current financial year. We are on track with our target to proclaim 1st July 2021 as the effective date for the nationwide rollout of ARTO. Chairperson, there is a symbolic relationship between the carnage on our roads and the state of health of the Road Accident Fund. Despite this, there has not been a nexus between the fuel levy and the number of accidents that occur on our public roads. However, to exacerbate this challenge is the ever-increasing administrative costs of the RAF scheme. The RAF has operated on a financially unsustainable model for a number of decades. The long-term liabilities of the fund are now government's largest contingent liability. In recent years, the fund has also experienced liquidity challenges as claims against the fund has outpaced the growth in the RAF levy. Claims against the fund have increased at an average annual rate of 8.4% from 61.3 billion in 2017-18 to 78.2 billion in 2020-2021 and expected to increase to 102.9 billion by 2023-2024. As a result, the accumulated deficit is expected to increase to 519.9 billion in 2023-2024. The other biggest cost drivers for RAF are legal fees that the entity has to settle, both in terms of its own legal cost and those of the claimants. The current COVID-19 disruptions are expected to worsen the liquidity of RAF. It is expected that this impact will extend to the 2021-22 and 2022-23 financial years. Although the lockdown levels resulted in revenue loss, this has narrowed to an expected 5 billion rand for the year ending on 31 March 2021. The most significant change going into the 2021-22 financial year is the new RAF operating model. The operating model represents a new approach to the investigation, settlement and litigation of claims. The grant provides funding for infrastructure and indirect cost of operating bus rapid transit system in Johannesburg, Tshwane and Nelson Mandela. And now referring here to the bus rapid transit. In these cities, funding from the grant is expected to lead to a combined increase in the number of BRT weekday passenger trips. If we are to achieve a 3-shift economy that celebrates our economic recovery, public transport must be responsive to the needs of the workers. This year we will gazette financial amendments to the integrated fare system regulations. The first rollout of the integrated single ticket will unfold during the course of this year. In the last year, we hosted the successful taxi in Daba, and we have agreed on the implementation of formalization of ensuring we professionalize, and at the same time, we arrive at a decision to subsidize the taxi industry. We are on track with regard to that, working with everybody on board. Chairperson, we are pleased to announce that we have made considerable progress on the appointment of board of directors and chief executive officers in our entities. We have appointed chief executive officers for Road Accident Fund, Port Regulator, PRASA, and as well as AXA. And we are in the process of finalizing appointments for ATNS. Chairperson, to date, more than 7 billion has been invested in maritime transport and manufacturing. In the coming months, we'll be hosting a roundtable discussion on how to create a conducive tax regime grow South Africa's ship registry. The department is intensifying its efforts towards implementation. The aviation sector has been severely affected by COVID-19, and in recent months, Singapore has announced that it will accept visitors who use a mobile travel passes containing digital certificates. These are some of the things we will be looking at going forward. This particular initiative was successfully tested by Singapore Airlines and more than 20 carriers. We need to work with the industry to ensure that we place South Africa on a new growth path, making use of opportunities presented by technology, and ensure that South Africa joins the growing number of countries that accept the IATA mobile travel pass. Thank you, Chairperson.
The next speaker is the Honourable Deputy Minister of Transport. The Honourable Deputy Minister.
Thank you very much, Chairperson, Honourable Foley, the Honourable Minister of Transport, Minister Mbalula, Honourable members of the House, the Director General of the Department of Transport, Mr. Muyemi, and those accompanying him, chairpersons and board members of our SOCs and SOEs, the chief executive officers of these entities, Bahai Tsuma Africa Uragan Dumedisa. As we table this budget, we are reminded of Magadzi for her undying commitment to free her people from that which demeaned them, and the dignity of the people which she sought for them having been dehumanized, and she stood firmly for the liberation in particular of women. And today we can proudly say we are here in these hallowed chambers, and many women have been able to occupy positions of power. But like Charles Dickens' world of paradoxes, his world of persistent contradiction, we too are hit by a spectacle of major contradictions in our age. A spectacle of the light shown by technologies and 4IR and other progresses, and the paradoxes of dark, depending poverty, unemployment, and relentless as we are facing the pandemic. However, Chairperson, the mechanism that formed the vast capacity of transport sector, which meant to for the persons with disabilities who continue to find themselves in the periphery and exclusion in the economy and social exclusion, are the things that we have to deal with. Honourable members, in line with the priorities of the sixth administration, let us focus on this MTSF in reviewing policies to ensure that we effectively tackle the triple challenges of poverty, inequality, and unemployment to further promote or advance the persons and categories of persons that have been disadvantaged and unfairly discriminated. As the case in point, the Department of Transport has reviewed the white paper on transport policy and also held a summit on policy aviation, which was launched to make sure that all the relevant stakeholders participate. The aim being to fast-track transformation. We also formulated legislative pieces committing ourselves to transform and grow the transport sector towards efficient and reducing the cost of doing business, and indeed easy entry of those that have been excluded. And to this effect, we've got 12 bills that are before Parliament, and we believe Parliament will be able to prioritize some of these bills so that we can be able to have speedy progress. House Chairperson, I need to indicate that in a quest to satisfy our constitutional principles of equality as directed by the struggle for Magadzi and others who came before us, it is necessary for us as public representative and public servant to make sure that this mandate is really realized, and in particular, the mandate of universality in their application. This speaks to public infrastructure build, which must adhere to the designs that enables safe access and universal access, in particular in the public transport space. Transport legislation, read in conjunction with the Consumer Protection Act and the promotion of equality and prevention of unfair discrimination, provides a powerful mechanism to reform the transport sector so that they can be able to be passenger focused. In fact, when you look at the Batubili service charter on the access demand, it reads, and I quote, all citizens have equal access to the service to which they are entitled. We have already established partnership with the Office of the Deputy Minister of Women, Youth and People with Disability since the last financial year, with the main objective of making sure that the vulnerable groups, particularly in the public sector space, are looked into. Our major focus with the Deputy Minister was to look at the sexual harassment, gender-based violence, and femicide in the public transport sphere. Gender and disability and youth and children's unit of the department remains a conduit for the mainstreaming of issues affecting vulnerable groups in this sector of transport. We also continue to strengthen women-run business formations. Evidence is what we did in the Northern Cape, where we launched the chapter of Sandwich, and post this budget, there will be other 2 provinces that we will visit to go and revitalize these structures. Regarding universal access, Chairperson, we are currently finalizing a complaints mechanism which will ensure that we monitor complaints of persons with disabilities in particular and dispense necessary action in resolution of these challenges. I need to also indicate that the Minister has set the agenda, and 2 of the issues that we believe we can be able to do is to make sure that we monitor the transformation in construction, engineering, aviation, maritime sector in line with the national transformation imperative in a manner that broadens economic participation, economic growth, and create jobs. The Minister also has impressed upon us that it is critical for the broad-based black economic empowerment, the skills development, and the growth of small, medium, macro enterprises and cooperative, with a particular focus to townships, small towns, and rural economies. The department has thus far adopted a set of priorities, amongst others, for this MTSF linked to the National Development Plan to build a strong and inclusive economy and to adopt the apex priorities of government, which focuses on job creation and economic transformation. House Chair, we also believe that the transformation objectives could best be realized preparing young people for work and making sure that they are employable once we have been able to prepare them with quality education, skills development, and capable and ethical professional cohorts that will be able to best serve the public service of the Republic of South Africa. The department has since made sure that there are internships, learnerships, and apprenticeship for all these cohorts that we're talking to, and we believe that they can be immediately and quickly be absorbed in the work stream. We report, Chairperson, that the department managed to have bursaries which were sponsored by the department and the CETAs so that we can be able to contribute towards the skills development in the Republic of South Africa. And to this effect, Honorable Chairperson, I need to indicate that from the CETAs, 25,195 various skills programs have been entered into, and these were sponsored by the CETAs. In addition, the department, together with the public entities and the provincial department, has given bursaries to 3,715 unemployed youth, believing that once we have been able to have these people, we will be able to improve service deliveries in the Department of Transport. House Chairperson, the Department of Transport is in agreement with 13 universities, and these agreements will be revised so that we can be able to look into the sixth priority, the sixth government priority. In this financial year, we will continue to search for a recruit of scarce skills so that we can be able to improve, particularly scarce skills that will be coming from the TVET colleges. Program House Chairperson, the aviation transformation leaves much to be desired because of the slow pace that people who are previously disadvantaged find no space, but only 20% of the PIDs are in aeronautical engineering as pilots and other critical skills. And this is one of the things that the department is looking into to make sure that we are able to increase this cohort. In spite of the aforementioned issues, House Chair, one of the strides the department is making is to make sure that the National Civil Aviation Transformation Strategy in this financial year focuses on these challenges that I have said, and they become priorities. Action of this financial year for further transformation of the aviation sector include finalization of the partnership with the Department of Basic Education to make sure that we draft and finalize the curriculum with the Department of Basic Education. In addition, we are in phase 2 of making sure that the business case for the establishment of government-owned academy is moving forward. The Civil Aviation Authority, with regard to the safety and following the Minister's Directive of accident-free, or generally 50% of the aviation accident, if they do happen, should not happen here in South Africa. South African Civil Aviation has a 5-year plan to make sure that we work towards this goal as outlined by the Minister. But we need to also indicate that a 0% accident in scheduled commercial flight is something that we need to applaud. We must also applaud the ATNS in making sure that our skies are safe and are kept safe. Our aviation entities, House Chair, have been the hardest hit in our sector over the period of the onslaught of COVID-19 pandemic and associated lockdown due to the grounding of the flights and closure of the borders. This must be recognized because these have been the entities that can be able to sustain themselves, but now they are cap in hand coming to the department to seek for extra funding. Program House Chair, I also need to indicate that the rail safety regulator, working with all the other entities, are now able to work in such a way that there is no more war between PRASA and rail safety regulator, but they are working harmoniously, and we can even feel the report that they table to Parliament has got that you can be able to show. I need to also indicate that the portfolio committee is seized with the rail safety bill, which actually we believe that it is one of those bills that we believe that once fast-tracked and prioritized, it will assist the rail safety regulator, because the current bill of 2002, Act number 16 of 2002, really has got challenges, and therefore the repeal of this act will go a long way in making sure that we're able to regulate and we're able to make sure that government can be able to implement. I also need to indicate, House Chair, that we believe that in rail safety regulator, as the regulations have been gazetted, it will go a long way in this financial year to can be able to guide us where to go. But I won't leave this podium without saying that we've got challenges in the road reserves, we've got challenges in the railway reserve, as has been seen in the Western Cape, And we're calling on the South Africans to say, please, these are the national assets. You need to take care of them so that they can be able to take care of you. As I conclude, I need to indicate that the budget that has been presented by Minister Mbalula will go a long way in responding to some of the issues that has been highlighted by the opposition party. The budget that Minister Mbalula has presented to us here is a budget which actually has got a foundation which has been laid previously for the achievement over this MTSF, and we believe that supporting this budget will go a long way in making sure that South Africa is no longer the South Africa of the past, but it's South Africa that is moving forward, and it's South Africa that will grow the economy. I thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Chairperson and honorable members. First, let me pass my condolences to the chair of the Portfolio Committee, Honorable Msebenzi Zwane, on the passing away of his brother. And I suppose that is why he's not in the lineup today. Our deepest condolences from the ministry. I wish to also thank the Ministry of Transport, everybody who worked with me, and also the department, the DG and his team, and the Deputy Minister. As a team, we are able to execute and deliver this budget today. First, let me start with RAF and also thank honorable members for your invaluable input in terms of our budget. Let me start first with RAF, that the sixth administration highlighted and elevated the challenges facing RAF. That is what we have done. We brought governance and administrative stability to this entity. Upon assumption of office, we immediately appointed a fully fledged and competent board. We also appointed a competent CEO. Many people don't like him because he's very competent. It's one. And he's got all my support and the support of the board and the support of this government. We earnestly commenced with the difficult task of bringing this entity to sustainability. We developed a 5-point intervention plan and began to implement it. We took up a fight that was being avoided for a very long time. We challenged the rogues lawyers who were milking this entity. This intervention is working. In the 2018-19 financial year, the RAF collected revenue from the fuel levy for an amount of 17 billion rand, Mr. Mapena, 17 billion rand. Honorable Mapena. Of this, 10.3 billion was spread on legal fees, when only up to 5% of RAF cases are actually ending up in court. We could not go on like this. We have dissolved the panel of attorneys. You know, all of you were in court, but we are winning. Model, and have signed an MOU with the Office of the Solicitor General and the State Attorney. This measure alone is saving the entity about 10 billion rand annually. We are also changing the model of the fund. We have, for the first time, gazetted the medical tariffs for the RAF. This will further curb abuse of process on the dealings and particularly of administration. We're investigating all fraudulent claims and corrupt individuals and activities of RAF. Will bring all crooks to book. We will bring this fund to sustainability and address its going concern status in the course of the term of office. On e-tolls, I'm not rogue. I'm part of a collective and I'm part of cabinet. E-tolls is a decision that requires government. Yes, I lead that. That is my responsibility. I have presented 9 possible solutions to the ETOPS impasse, which I had inherited. It is not easy, because if it was easy, the solution could have now been pronounced. Government is on the verge of resolving this matter. The National Treasury has been mandated by Cabinet to work with us to resolve this matter. An announcement is imminent. I have therefore not misled the NCOP. For this, for those who have no governance experience, it's very easy to just criticize. It's a tough job at balancing the government books. Wherever we're nearing to finding a solution on this matter, and a sustainable, responsible, and within the available legal framework. This matter, like others confronting this portfolio, will be resolved, even though it took longer than we ourselves would have loved. And we concur with you, honorable members, that decision on this matter is important to bring certainty. I fully agree with all of you across the political divide, irrespective of your ideological background. I agree with you that solution on this matter must be arrived at for the sake of our country and the functioning of our economy properly, and so on. On matters that are of concurrent function, once we accept leadership responsibility, you know that the transport department is a concurrent function. The Minister of Transport does not close potholes. It's municipalities at local level. So you see potholes in Johannesburg, it is Johannesburg that must resolve that. Potholes in Pulugwani, it is Pulugwani. But potholes on the N2, N1, it's me. I closed them. And it's only Honorable May who have acknowledged that, from FF Plus, who said that he recognizes and supports the role Sanrala is playing in terms of road maintenance. We have had disaster after disaster. We have just had a cyclone, and we have a pandemic in our hands, and we've got e-tolls that we must resolve, and we're committed to doing this. Conclusion, PRASA, we're on track. We work very hard with PRASA to get things going. We need dust on the ground, and that is what is happening. I've got the board now. I've got the CEO, and we are expecting things to happen. And I've presented before you, Honorable from Al Jamaa, Cape Town to Simonstown. We have said here, I've presented to you that Cape Town to Simonstown is one of the corridors before end of the year that will be opened. And that we're working very hard to get down to business and ensure that that corridor is fully functional and is sorted out as you would have presented. I thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson and Honorable Members. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes the debate and the business of this mini plenary. The mini plenary will now rise. I thank you, Honorable Members.
Long live the chair, long live Minister.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. If I may have your attention, please, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Minister. Thank you, DM. Thank you, DG.